I'll marry you when I am rich.
The sandwich cost her everything, but it gave him a future worth $200 million. Zara, 9 years old, saw the starving Korean boy through the rusted fence behind Lincoln Elementary. Her family had nothing. Her mother worked double shifts. Her grandmother counted every dollar twice. But she gave him her lunch anyway. Every day for 6 months. No one asked her to. No one thanked her. She just did it. When he had to run, when the men tracking him got too close, Jae-hyun made a wild promise. "I'll marry you when I'm rich." She laughed, not because it was silly, but because it was too big to hold, then tied her red ribbon around his wrist, right over a thin scar. 22 years vanished. Jae-hyun became the ghost of Seattle, ruled the Seven Stars Syndicate with surgical brutality, spent 5 years searching for her, bought properties, then hired investigators, funded shell charities, found nothing. Tonight, he'd walk into a community meeting in Rainier Valley. Zara would be there, leading the resistance against displacement, still fighting for her neighborhood. Neither knew they were seconds away from collision. Jae-hyun Park woke at 5:47 a.m. in a penthouse that cost more than most families earned in a decade. Floor-to-ceiling windows. The Seattle skyline stretched below, rain streaking glass like tears the city couldn't stop crying. Dawn came gray and cold. He didn't notice. He never did. The espresso machine hummed. Italian, $9,000. He pressed a button and walked away before the cup filled. His closet held 32 suits, all black, all tailored to perfection. He grabbed one without looking. The apartment was silent. Always silent. No artwork on the walls. No photographs. No evidence that someone actually lived here. It looked like a fortress. Felt like a grave. His phone buzzed. His second in command, Min Jun. Shipping route secured. Vancouver deal closed. $8 million clean. Jae-hyun texted back. Good. $8 million. He felt nothing. He walked to his office, unlocked the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside, a small wooden box, unvarnished, cheap. Inside that, a faded red ribbon frayed at the edges, darkened with age and sweat and years. This was the only thing that mattered. He lifted it carefully, let it rest across his palm. 22 years old. The fabric was disintegrating despite his care. Every morning he looked at it. Every morning, the same thought clawed through him like hunger. Where is she? The rain outside turned heavier. Jae-hyun closed his eyes. Seattle, me 22 years earlier. The rain fell the way it always did in November. Cold, relentless, the kind that soaked through jackets and stayed in your bones. Zara Vance stood on the blacktop behind Lincoln Elementary, lunch tray balanced on her arm. Chicken nuggets, canned peaches, chocolate milk she'd been saving all week. Her best friend, Keisha, was talking about something. Maybe a TV show, maybe nothing. But Zara wasn't listening. She was staring at the fence. At the boy on the other side. He stood in the overgrown weeds behind the chain link, rain pouring over him like the world had forgotten he existed. Too thin. Clothes 2 sizes too big. Hollow eyes that looked past things instead of at them. He didn't move. He just watched. Girl, you even listening? Keisha waved a hand in front of Zara's face. Zara blinked. Yeah, sorry. You keep staring at that fence like something's gonna jump out. Zara looked down at her tray. The chicken nuggets were still warm. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten breakfast, wouldn't eat dinner until her mom got home around 9. But something pulled at her chest. Something sharp and uncomfortable. I'll be right back, she said. Keisha frowned. Where you going? Zara didn't answer. She walked toward the fence, tray clutched tight. The other kids didn't notice. Teachers were inside. The boy didn't move, but his eyes tracked her like a trapped animal, deciding whether to run. She stopped 3 feet from the chain link. Up close, she could see the dirt under his nails, the bruise on his jaw, the way his hands shook even though he tried to hide it. "You hungry?" she asked. The boy stared. Zara reached through the fence. War held out half her sandwich. Peanut butter, grape jelly, white bread her grandma bought in bulk. "It's okay," she said softly. "I already ate." She hadn't. The boy looked at the sandwich like it might vanish if he blinked. Slowly, so slowly his hand trembled the whole way. He reached out and took it. He didn't say, "Thank you." He didn't say anything. He just ate like someone afraid the world would change its mind. Zara watched until he finished. Then she walked back to Keisha without a word. The next day, she brought the other half. By the 3rd week, she'd learned his name. Jae-hyun. He spoke English like each word cost him something, told her he ran, that men were looking for him, that he slept in places people didn't check, under bridges, in alleys, behind dumpsters. "Why are they looking?" Zara asked one afternoon, passing him a bruised apple through the fence. Jae-hyun's jaw tightened. "They brought me here, on a boat, said I'd work in a restaurant. And? There was no restaurant." Zara's stomach turned cold. She didn't ask again. Instead, she brought more. A juice box she'd saved. Chips from her lunch. A stolen Band-Aid when she saw the cut on his arm. Winter came early that year. Rain turned sharp. Air bit through thin jackets. One morning in December, Zara showed up without her coat. She'd left it hanging on the fence the night before. When Jae-hyun saw it, his eyes went wide. He tried to give it back through the chain link, shaking his head hard. "No, you need—" "I can run inside when it's cold," Zara said, cutting him off. "You can't." Jae-hyun stared at her like she'd just rewritten something fundamental about the universe. He wore that coat until the sleeves barely covered his wrists. The day before he disappeared, Jae-hyun was frantic. He kept looking over his shoulder, fingers white around the fence wire. His breathing came fast, shallow. "What's wrong?" Zara whispered. "They found me." His voice cracked. "I have to go. Tonight. Far." Zara's chest squeezed so tight she thought her ribs might crack. "Where?" "I don't know. Somewhere they can't follow." She wanted to say something smart, something brave, but all she could manage was, "Don't die." Jae-hyun looked at her, really looked the way people do when they're trying to memorize a face, and his voice dropped low, absolute. "I will survive," he said. "I will get rich, and when I come back, I will marry you." Zara laughed, not because it was silly, because it was too enormous to believe. She untied the red ribbon from her hair, cheap, bought in a 3-pack from the dollar store, and wrapped it around his wrist, right over a thin white scar. "So you don't forget me?" she said. Jae-hyun stared at that ribbon like it was a vow carved into his skin. "I won't," he whispered. The next morning, the fence was empty. Zara stood there for 20 minutes in the rain, staring at nothing. He never came back. Before we dive deeper into this story, I need your help. We're on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription gets us closer to that goal. If you enjoy stories about complicated love, about people who choose each other despite the odds, please hit that subscribe button. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop a comment and tell me your city or country. Building this community means everything, and knowing where you all are from makes it even more special. 22 years passed like a wound that never closed. Seattle learned to fear a man they called the Ghost. Jae-hyun Park didn't raise his voice, didn't make threats, didn't need to. He wore tailored black suits that cost more than cars, spoke softly so people had to lean in close, and ran the 7 Stars Syndicate with the precision of a surgeon and the mercy of winter. Shipping lanes, port access, real estate that politicians pretended not to notice. When Jae-hyun entered a room, oxygen left with him. He owned 17 properties across the city, lived in none of them. His penthouse in downtown Seattle had everything: sub-zero appliances, imported marble, a view that made architects weep and felt like absolutely nothing. No photographs, no personal items. Just expensive emptiness and the hum of climate control. Every night, the same routine. Shower, black silk robe, whiskey he didn't taste. Standing at the window, watching the city lights blur in the rain, feeling the hollow space in his chest where hunger used to live. He'd killed that hunger with money, replaced it with something worse. His phone buzzed. Min-jun, his second in command, efficient and cold. Thompson shipping deal finalized. $4.2 million transferred. Clean. Jae-hyun typed back. Good. $4 million. Nothing. He set the phone down, rolled up his left sleeve. The watch came off first. Patek Philippe, worth more than most houses. Beneath it, wrapped around the same wrist, faded and fraying, the red ribbon. He touched it the way other men touched rosaries. 22 years. The fabric was deteriorating despite every effort to preserve it. He'd taken it to specialists, archivists, museum conservators, but time was winning, just like it always did. He closed his eyes and saw her. 9 years old, overalls, hair in 2 puffs, handing him half a sandwich through a rusted fence like it wasn't the only food she'd eat that day. Where are you? The search started 5 years ago. Methodical, obsessive, invisible. Jae-hyun bought property near Lincoln Elementary first. Then blocks around it. Then neighborhoods radiating outward like a slow-moving infection. He placed operatives in community centers, funded youth programs that existed only on paper, hired private investigators who asked questions without asking why. No one connected the dots. No one suspected the ghost of Seattle was searching for a little black girl who'd shown him kindness when the world wanted him dead. His office wall was covered in maps. Red pins marked purchases. Blue pins marked searches. Yellow pins marked dead ends. There were hundreds of yellow pins. Min-jun knocked once, entered without waiting. He knew better than to wait. "We found 3 more Zaras in South Seattle," he said, handing over a tablet. "Ages 28 to 32. None match the profile." Jae-hyun scrolled through photos. Wrong faces, wrong eyes, wrong. "Keep looking," he said. "It's been 5 years, Hyung." Min-jun's voice carried the careful weight of someone who knew exactly how dangerous this conversation was. "Maybe she left the city. Maybe she's here." Jae-hyun's tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I know she's here." Min-jun nodded once and left. The rain picked up outside, always raining in Seattle, like the city remembered that day behind the fence and couldn't stop crying about it. Jae-hyun poured another whiskey, didn't drink it. His empire was built on 2 principles: never be hungry again, and never forget the girl. Everything else, the violence, the money, the fear, was just scaffolding around those 2 truths. The break came on a Tuesday. Min-jun walked in without knocking, which meant something significant had happened. Good or catastrophic. With Jae-hyun's world, those were often the same thing. "We found her." Jae-hyun's hand stopped mid-reach for his coffee. The room went silent except for rain against glass. Where? Rainier Valley. She runs a community youth center. Fights displacement, gentrification. She's been on our radar for 6 months. We just didn't connect her to the searches. Min-jun pulled up a photo on the tablet. Jae-hyun's world tilted. There. Older, tired. Beautiful in the way people who've survived too much are beautiful. Standing in front of a run-down brick building, arms crossed, jaw set, eyes blazing with the same quiet defiance she'd had at 9 years old. Zara Vance. She's leading resistance against the Rainier Valley redevelopment project, Min-jun continued. Community meetings, petitions. She's good at it. Loud. The residents trust her. Jae-hyun stared at the photo. His chest felt strange, tight and open at the same time, like something sealed for decades had finally cracked. What redevelopment project? He asked quietly. Min-jun hesitated. Ours. Silence. The shell company we set up last year, Min-jun clarified. The one buying properties for the new commercial district. She's fighting us? She doesn't know it's us, but she's fighting us? Jae-hyun almost laughed. Of course fate would do this. Bring her back by putting her directly in his path as an enemy. When's the next community meeting? He asked. Tonight, 7 p.m., St. Mark's Church basement. Jae-hyun stood, smoothed his suit. The ribbon stayed hidden beneath his watch, warm against his skin. Clear my schedule, he said. Min-jun frowned. You're going yourself? Yes. Hyung, if you walk in there, if she sees you, she won't recognize me, Jae-hyun interrupted. I was 12, starving, half dead. I'm not that boy anymore. Min-jun looked unconvinced but nodded. Jae-hyun walked to the window. The city stretched below, our rain turning everything gray and soft. Somewhere out there, Zara was preparing to fight him without knowing his name. 22 years. 5 years searching. Tonight, the ghost would finally show his face. Before you find out what happens when they meet again, can I ask you something? If this story is hitting you the way it's hitting me, please take 2 seconds to like this video. It helps more people find these stories. And I'm curious. Have you ever made a promise you thought you'd never be able to keep? Drop it in the comments. We read every single one. St. Mark's Church basement smelled like old coffee and fear. Folding chairs packed shoulder to shoulder. 80 people crammed into a space meant for 40. Residents who'd lived in Rainier Valley their whole lives. Families being priced out. Elders who remembered when this neighborhood was theirs. The air felt electric, angry. Zara stood at the front near a microphone that crackled with feedback. Jeans, faded Howard sweatshirt, hair pulled back, dark circles under her eyes that spoke of too many late nights and not enough wins. She looked tired. She looked furious. The lawyers sat in the front row, 3 of them. Expensive suits, leather briefcases, smiles that didn't reach their eyes. We've made a generous offer, the lead lawyer was saying. Relocation assistance, fair market value. This development will bring jobs. You mean condos none of us can afford, Zara cut in, her voice carried without shouting. You mean erasing everything we've built. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The basement door opened. Every head turned. Jae-hyun entered first. 6'1". Black suit that cost more than the building. 4 men behind him, silent, dangerous. The temperature dropped. Conversations died. Residents shifted. Even the lawyers looked nervous. Jae-hyun moved through the crowd like water, smooth, inevitable. His eyes swept the room once. Then they found Zara. Everything stopped. She stood frozen at the microphone, hand gripping the podium. Her eyes locked on his, Confusion first, then something deeper trying to surface. Jae-hyun couldn't breathe. 22 years collapsed into this moment. The girl behind the fence, the sandwich, the ribbon. Here she was, still fighting. One of the lawyers stood. "Mr. Park, we weren't expecting—" Jae-hyun raised one hand. Silence fell instantly. He walked forward until he stood 10 feet from Zara, close enough to see the pulse in her throat. "Ms. Vance," he said quietly. Zara's grip tightened. "Who are you?" "Jae-hyun Park." The name meant nothing to her. The starving boy never told her his full name. "You're with the development company," she said, an accusation. "I own it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Zara's jaw set. "Then you know exactly what I think of you." "I do." "You know I'll fight this." "I'm not here to fight you." His voice stayed level. "I'm here to stop the project." Silence. The lead lawyer shot up. "Mr. Park, we have contracts, investors. Cancel them." Jae-hyun didn't look away from Zara. "All of it. That's millions in losses. I said cancel them." The lawyer sat. Zara stared. "Why would you do that?" This was the moment. Jae-hyun reached up slowly and unbuttoned his left cuff, rolled back the sleeve. The Patek Philippe caught the light. Beneath it, the red ribbon. Zara stopped breathing. Her hand flew to her mouth. Eyes went wide. "No," she whispered. "Zara, that's not, you can't be—" 22 years, he said. "I kept my promise. I came back rich." The room exploded into confused murmurs. But Jae-hyun only saw her. Zara's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "Jay?" "Yes." "The boy behind the fence?" "Yes." She covered her face, shoulders shaking. When she looked up, her eyes held recognition and grief and anger tangled together. "You became this?" She gestured at his suit, his men, the fear he brought. "You became a monster," Jae-hyun finished quietly. "Yes, to survive, to find you." "I gave you sandwiches," Zara said, voice breaking. "And you became the thing that destroys neighborhoods?" "I became the thing that could protect you." "I don't need—" A window shattered. Glass exploded inward. Someone screamed. Jae-hyun moved, crossed the space in 2 strides, wrapped himself around Zara, pulled her down as gunfire erupted outside. His men returned fire. Residents dove under chairs. More glass breaking. Chaos. Jae-hyun kept Zara pinned beneath him, his body a shield, hand cradling her head. She was shaking. "Stay down," he said into her hair. The shooting stopped. Tires screeching, sirens approaching. Jae-hyun didn't move. After 22 years, he'd finally found her. And now someone was trying to kill her. Because of him. Zara pushed at his chest. "Get off!" "Are you hurt?" He checked her for blood. Hands running over her arms. "Did anything—" "I'm fine." She shoved harder. "What was that?" Jae-hyun's jaw tightened. "A message." "From who?" He looked at the shattered windows, the bullet holes. "People who don't want me going legitimate," he said quietly. Zara stared, understanding dawning, horror following. "You brought this here?" she whispered. "To my community." "Zara? Get out. I can protect—" "Get out!" Her voice cracked, tears finally spilling. 22 years of wondering, and now she knew. He'd become everything she fought against. Jae-hyun stood slowly, glass crunching under his shoes. He looked at Zara one more time. She stood too, arms wrapped around herself, staring at him like he was a stranger. Maybe he was. "I'm sorry," he said. Then he walked out into the rain. Behind him, sirens wailed, and Zara tried to stop shaking. The ghost had found his girl, and almost gotten her killed. Before we continue, I need to tell you something. This story gets more intense from here. If you're invested, if you need to know what happens next, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens next changes everything. Zara woke in a penthouse she didn't recognize. Floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle skyline, silk sheets that cost more than her monthly rent. For 3 seconds, she thought she was dreaming. Then she remembered the shooting, the chaos. Jae-hyun's men surrounding her before she could protest. A car. Elevator. His voice, low and absolute. You're not safe there anymore. She sat up fast, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Her phone was on the nightstand, fully charged, which meant someone had plugged it in while she slept. The bedroom door was closed, but not locked. Zara opened it. The penthouse stretched before her like something from a magazine. Marble floors, minimalist furniture, everything expensive and empty, no personal touches, no warmth. Jae-hyun stood at the windows, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. He wore black slacks and a white dress shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. The ribbon was visible on his wrist. He turned when he heard her, ended the call immediately. You're awake, he said. You kidnapped me. I protected you, without asking. There wasn't time. His voice stayed calm, maddeningly calm. 3 bullets hit the wall where you were standing. If I'd waited for permission, you'd be dead. Zara's hands clenched. So what now? Oh, I'm your prisoner? You're my guest. I didn't agree to be either. Jae-hyun crossed the room slowly, stopped 6 feet away, close enough to talk, far enough to let her breathe. The people who attacked last night weren't random, he said. They were sending a message to me, and now that they know you matter to me, they'll come for you again. Then stay away from me. No. The word was simple, absolute. It hit Zara like a physical thing. You don't get to decide that, she said. I already have. Something in his tone made her chest tight, not threatening. Worse. Final. Like he'd calculated every variable, and this was the only possible outcome. I have a life, Jae-hyun, a job, a community center that needs me. The center is being guarded, 24 hours, my men. I didn't ask for— You never ask, he interrupted quietly. You just give. Sandwiches, coats, ribbons. You give until you have nothing left, and you never ask for anything back. Zara's breath caught. So, I'm asking for you, Jae-hyun continued. Until this is resolved. Until you're safe. Stay. 3 days passed. Zara tried to leave twice. Both times, men in black suits politely but firmly convinced her otherwise. Not with violence, with information, a list of credible threats, photos of her youth center with gunshot trajectories marked. Evidence that someone had been watching her apartment for weeks. On the 4th day, she stopped trying. Jae-hyun was gone most mornings. Meetings, business, things he didn't explain. But every evening, he came back. Brought dinner from restaurants she couldn't pronounce, sat across from her at the marble table, and ate in silence unless she spoke first. He never pushed, never demanded. Just existed in her space like he'd been waiting 22 years for permission. Why'd you really stop the development? Zara asked one night over Thai food she barely touched. Jae-hyun set down his chopsticks. Because it would have hurt you. That's it? That's everything? She studied him, the expensive suit, the controlled stillness, the way violence coiled under his skin like a sleeping thing. Who are you? She whispered. Really? You know who I am. No, I knew a scared boy who ate peanut butter sandwiches. I don't know. This. Jae-hyun's jaw tightened. The boy died the night I ran. What survived learned how to hurt people before they could hurt him. And now? Now I'm trying to remember what it felt like before. The confession hung between them. Raw, unexpected. Zara looked away first. She found the maps by accident. Jae-hyun's office door was open. He never locked anything around her, and curiosity pulled her inside. The wall was covered in them. Seattle neighborhoods, property records, highlighted blocks in South Seattle, Rainier Valley, Georgetown, red pins, blue pins, yellow pins, hundreds of them. In the center, a photo of Lincoln Elementary, and circled in red marker, her youth center. Zara's hand went to her mouth. He'd been searching for years, buying buildings, funding programs, reshaping entire neighborhoods just trying to find her. I bought 17 properties before I found the right one. She spun. Jae-hyun stood in the doorway. You did all this? Her voice cracked. All this was to find me? Yes. That's insane. Yes. That's obsessive. Yes. He stepped inside. You saved my life, Zara. When I was 12 and starving and no one else saw me, you saw me, fed me, gave me your coat in winter, tied your ribbon around my wrist and made me promise to survive. His voice dropped lower. So I did. I survived. And every single thing I built, every dollar, every property, every choice, was to keep that promise. Tears burned Zara's eyes. I was 9 years old, sharing my lunch. You were everything. The words landed like a vow. Zara couldn't breathe. The maps, the years, the sheer weight of being someone's entire reason for existing. I can't be that for you, she whispered. You already are. The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter for 20 minutes before Zara could look at it. Positive. Her hands shook so badly she dropped it twice. They'd been careful. Mostly. Except for that night after he'd stopped 3 men from breaking into the youth center. After he'd come back with blood on his knuckles and something broken in his eyes. After she'd pulled him into her bedroom and they'd collided like 2 people trying to prove they were still alive. Oh, God. Zara sat on the floor, head between her knees, breathing hard, a baby, with a man who ruled a criminal empire, a man who'd spent 5 years obsessively searching for her, a man who'd kept a ribbon for 22 years. The bathroom door opened. Jae-hyun froze when he saw her on the floor. What's wrong? He was beside her instantly, hands on her shoulders. Are you hurt? Did someone... Zara pointed at the counter. Jae-hyun looked, went completely still, then dropped to his knees. My air, he whispered, voice cracking. My blood. Ah, my heart. His hands moved to her stomach, gentle, reverent, shaking. This changes everything, Zara said. Yes. I need you to promise me something. Anything. She grabbed his face, made him look at her. Go legitimate, all the way. No more syndicate, no more violence, no more being the ghost. Jae-hyun's eyes searched hers. That's not simple. I don't care. Our child will not grow up in that world. If you want us, if you want this family, you leave that life behind. Zara? Or we're done. Silence. Then Jae-hyun pulled her against his chest, buried his face in her hair. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Going legitimate was not clean. It was surgical, brutal, expensive. Jae-hyun spent 6 months dismantling an empire he'd spent 15 years building. Shell companies dissolved, shipping contracts transferred, properties sold or converted. Money laundered backward until it looked legal on paper. The 7 Stars Syndicate became a holding company, then a development firm, then a foundation. The violence receded slowly, like a tide that didn't want to leave. Min-jun stood in Jae-hyun's office one final time, resignation letter on the desk between them. You're really doing this, he said, not a question. Yes. For her. For them. Jae-hyun's hand rested on the ultrasound photo. 12 weeks. Already loved more than anything he'd ever owned. Min-jun nodded once. Then I hope she's worth it. She is. After Min-jun left, Jae-hyun sat alone in the silence. The office felt different now. Lighter, emptier, like shedding skin that no longer fit. His phone buzzed. Zara, center's ready for the reopening. You coming? He smiled, typed back. Wouldn't miss it. The Rainier Valley Youth Center reopened on a Saturday in September. No politicians, no cameras, just neighbors. Kids. People who'd lived there long enough to remember when hope felt possible. Zara stood at the entrance, greeting everyone. 8 months pregnant, glowing, wearing a dress Jae-hyun had commissioned from a local designer. Deep purple, gold threading, beautiful and hers. Jae-hyun arrived quietly. No guards, no entourage, just him in a dark suit with the ribbon still wrapped beneath his watch. When Zara saw him, her whole face changed. You made it, she said. I told you I would. She took his hand, led him inside. The center was transformed. New paint, new equipment, art on the walls made by kids from the neighborhood, a commercial kitchen for cooking classes, a library donated anonymously, which everyone knew meant Jae-hyun. In the main room, 70 people gathered, some who'd been at the community meeting that night, some who'd watched Jae-hyun with suspicion for months, some who were starting to believe. An elderly woman approached, Mrs. Patterson, who'd lived in Rainier Valley for 60 years. Mr. Park, she said carefully. Jae-hyun braced himself. Thank you, she continued, for not being what we thought you were. Something in his chest cracked open. I'm trying, he said quietly. We can see that. She patted his arm. Keep trying. They married in March. Small ceremony. City Hall first for the legal part, then a gathering at the youth center for everyone who mattered. Hardened ex-criminals stood beside church aunties. Min-jun showed up in a suit, brought a gift, stayed for cake. Zara's mother cried. Her grandmother held the ultrasound photo like scripture. The red ribbon was woven into Zara's bouquet, frayed, faded, 23 years old now and still holding. Jae-hyun stood at the altar, watching Zara walk toward him and remembered being 12. Starving, invisible. Watching a girl share her lunch through a fence like it didn't cost her everything. She'd saved him twice. Once with a sandwich. Once with a choice. When they exchanged vows, Jae-hyun's voice stayed steady until the end. I spilled blood to come back to you, he said, but you taught me what to build instead. Zara's hands tightened around his, tears on her cheeks. You kept your promise, she whispered. Always. The kiss tasted like salt and relief and 23 years of waiting. Their daughter was born in May. 7 pounds, perfect. Loud. They named her Maya, illusion in Sanskrit, because sometimes the best things feel too good to be real. Jae-hyun held her in the hospital room, this tiny human who'd rewritten his entire existence and felt something he'd forgotten how to feel. Peace. Zara watched from the bed, exhausted and happy. You're crying? She said softly. I know. The ghost of Seattle is crying over a baby. The ghost is dead. Jae-hyun looked up. This is just me. 3 years later, Zara found him at the youth center after hours. He stood by the chain-link fence they'd installed in the back garden. Not rusted like the old one, but clean, decorative. A memorial to where it started. A boy stood on the other side. Maybe 8 years old. Too thin. Clothes that didn't fit. Watching the center through the fence like he was trying to decide if it was real. Zara's heart clenched. She started forward, but Jae-hyun caught her hand, shook his head. They watched as Maya, 3.5 now, fearless like her mother, approached the fence with a sandwich. "You hungry?" she asked. The boy stared. Maya pushed the sandwich through the chain link. "It's okay. I already ate." She hadn't. Zara had watched her save it from lunch. The boy took it with shaking hands, ate like the world might change its mind. Maya untied the ribbon from her hair, red, just like her mother's, and wrapped it around the fence. "So you remember someone cares?" she said. Then she ran back inside. Jae-hyun's throat went tight. Zara leaned against him, both of them watching the boy finish eating. "History repeating," she whispered. "History evolving." Jae-hyun kissed the top of her head. "She learned from the best." The boy pocketed the ribbon carefully, looked at the center one more time, then disappeared into the Seattle evening. Somewhere in the city, another story was beginning. Another hungry child. Another act of kindness. Another promise being planted that would bloom in 20 years. Zara and Jae-hyun stood in the twilight, hands intertwined, watching the space where the boy had been. "Think he'll come back?" Zara asked. "If Maya keeps feeding him?" Jae-hyun smiled. "Absolutely." "Good." Zara rested her head on his shoulder. "Then we did something right." We did everything right. Above them, the Seattle sky turned purple and gold. Inside the center, children laughed. Maya ran back outside, already looking for her new friend. The ribbon changed hands. The cycle continued. And somewhere in the city, the ghost of Seattle was finally, completely at peace. Thank you for staying with this story from beginning to end. Zara and Jae-hyun's journey reminds us that kindness plants seeds we can't always see growing, but they grow anyway. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. We've got more stories about love that defies logic, about people who choose each other against impossible odds, and about the moments that change everything. Check out the other videos on the channel. I think you'll find something that speaks to you. Drop a comment letting me know what you thought of this one. Your city, your takeaway, anything. We read every single one. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next story.